dunes, houses built where they shouldn't be, or without meeting standards. So basically, we can say that it is the interaction between nature following its course and man who do not respect nature.
The issue arises when builders construct too close to the beach or extract coastal sand for projects, exacerbating erosion and rendering buildings vulnerable to tides. Senegal's tourism accounts for 11% of its economy, but over time, erosion could affect more than just this industry, given that 2/3 of the population lives in the coastal region around the capital, Dakar. Senegal is not the only country under threat. Gambia's 15 coastal hotels are at risk due to erosion. Nigeria's Environment Ministry has launched a program to fight erosion, and Ghana, which has 1 million annual visitors, has built a 30-kilometer sea wall. Around 1 million people also visit Senegal every year, and the government set a goal in 2014 to triple that number. Sali, one of the country's biggest tourist hubs, looks set to miss out. Since 2010, the town that includes the Espadon, 50 kilometers southeast of Dakar, has lost 30 meters of beach.
When you think about a seaside resort, what do you see? The beach, the sun, but here, there's no beach, and it's discouraging. So the little guests who have left and who actually come back, they only return out of loyalty. What reprieve do we have? Neither the city or the government is doing anything about it. We are orphans here. What are we going to do? We are starting to lose tourists. In other words, the state must launch an internal, national, and international promotion.
For his part, Ernest Dion, National Coordinator for the Ministry of the Environment, defends government initiatives, pointing to its study on erosion and an emergency action plan.
I think that in terms of the struggle with coastal regions, it is important to know what is happening before acting, because any errors made can lead to much greater consequences. I'm talking about a review with all the stakeholders. The government tried to conduct this study. These studies were deepened over time, but also given that at the same time there were extremely vulnerable areas suffering from significant damage, the government attempted to implement emergency action plans by establishing certain coastal protection infrastructures.
Tourism in West Africa has already been hit by perceptions of insecurity in countries like Mali, where Islamist militants attacked a luxury hotel on November 20, and disease after Ebola killed thousands in Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone.
Sali has changed dramatically just with the erosion. There used to be 2 soccer fields on this beach right here. Now, there is nothing left. For me, this isn't natural. It's humans' fault. Recently, I saw an article in a French newspaper about a beach you used to have here and how trucks were constantly coming to get sand. They didn't understand that sand doesn't grow back. They didn't find a solution. This phenomenon is not natural at all.
Some experts say it is still possible to recover some of the lost beaches through the use of wave breakers and other tools, although it may be costly. But some say these initiatives are inadequate, and to solve the problem, beach homes responsible for erosion in the town should be torn down.
Tourism in West Africa. Now let's end it in Egypt, where the Civil Aviation and Antiquities Ministers have inaugurated a small museum at the Cairo International Airport as part of efforts to revitalize the country's struggling tourism sector. Tourism and Civil Aviation authorities are hoping the museum could give a much-needed boost to travelers to use Cairo as a pit stop for their international journeys.
The museum is located in Terminal 3 near the airport transit hall. Entry tickets cost $3. The facility houses dozens of artifacts from museums across the country, including the Egyptian Museum, the Coptic Museum, and the Islamic Arts Museum. The Antiquities Minister says the museum will help spread more knowledge about Egypt's rich history.
We have samples from the 4 main museums that represent Egyptian civilization. They are presented to visitors of the airport, especially transit visitors who may not have time to stay in Egypt or visit any of its landmarks. Thus, they will have the opportunity to learn about the various stages of Egyptian civilization.
The pieces highlight the pharaonic, Greek, Roman, Coptic, and Islamic eras in Egypt. Speaking to reporters following the inauguration, Civil Aviation Minister Hussam Kamal said that the museum will have a positive impact on the country.
This is beneficial for tourists and travelers, and is also beneficial for Cairo Airport. When it is advertised that Cairo Airport has a museum, and this is something that isn't available anywhere else in the world, and if it receives the appropriate promotion abroad, this will encourage travelers to pass through Cairo Airport instead of other airports, and will help both Cairo Airport and the country to reap the rewards.
Director of the museum sector at the Antiquities Ministry says both ministries will work together to replicate this project in other airports around the country.
If this trial is a success, we can choose a larger room that can hold a greater collection of different artifacts that represent the various stages of Egyptian civilization through the ages. Or as the Minister of Aviation said, this can be implemented in several other airports, such as Sharm el-Sheikh and Hurghada airports, with other museums showcasing Egyptian civilization.
In September, 12 people were killed and 10 more injured when the Egyptian military, hunting Islamists in the desert, mistakenly bombed the convoy of a group of Mexican tourists in a move the government later described as an accident. 1 month later, a Russian airliner carrying 224 holidaymakers from the Red Sea resort city of Sharm el-Sheikh was downed by a bomb. Since then, Egypt has been heavily campaigning to reassure the world that it is safe to visit. Last year, 9.9 million tourists visited Egypt, a far cry from the 14.7 million who came in 2010.
Wherever you're visiting on the African continent, do enjoy your stay. Tourism in Africa. That's about all for today. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you next time. I am Bosin Amofaye.